is extremely important, and you should try to be on time. But I see that there are only 67 now, so it means there are 65 probationers, because 67 includes me and the Nair TMU also. Anyway, so a few instructions. Please keep yourself muted. If you want to ask anything, if you don't understand anything, you are free to type in the chat box. I keep looking at the chat box once in a while, so I will respond to your queries. And if your query is such that you are finding it difficult to type in the chat box, then you should raise your hand, and then I will get back to you. Right. So today's topic is conduct rules, and when we say conduct rule, it is called the exact name of the rule is Railway Services Conduct Rules 1966. If you are wondering about the PowerPoint, so let me tell you at the outset, there is no PPT for this particular session, because conduct rules are such where it's not that this is important and this is not important, or these are the highlights of the conduct rules. Each and every rule is equally important. There are certain finer details that you may skip through, but you need to know about all the rules, and that is the reason why I have not prepared a PPT. I hope the PDF copy of the detailed rules might have been shared with you, because I have already shared that with your course directors, respective CDs. So if not, then you can ask them to share it with you. So you have to basically, what you can do is, as I am talking, you can at least mark down which are the important points, what you call taking notes. You can take notes if you want, but I will not be sharing any PPT for this class. Questions will be there in the exam on this particular topic, so it's your choice. Either you take your notes, or you read the entire thing after the class is over. We have to understand certain basic aspects of conduct rules before we go into discussing each and everything in detail. So the first and foremost is conduct rules are they are like guidance for you. It's like the guidelines about how all of you as railway officers should conduct themselves. Okay, and why there are specific conduct rules for you as railway officers. The very reason for having these rules in place is that the very reason is that now, the moment you join the organization, the moment you become railway officers, or for that matter, not even officers, it is applicable only for the officers. They are also applicable for all the railway staff, all the railway employees. Because the moment you join this organization, now you are a part of the government. So if you see, every rule or every act will have definitions and objectives. I think I told that to you during when we were discussing the topic of WPR rules. So the definition, this definition, the very first definition is in the down that all, all of us, all employees, our non-gazetted staff, for the purpose of these rules, we represent the government. You are part of the government, you are for people. You and me are the government is behind, and that the conduct rules lays down guideline about how the government should conduct its business. And because the government. So we are the representatives of the government, and we are people judge the operation or the working of the government according to our working, our acts, our decisions. It is important. As we discuss this, you will realize that there are certain which may sound kind of, but it is which are one not practical. It is not practical to follow these conduct rules, and number two, they are not required to be included. In my opinion, they are not required to be included because it is not only for the it is not only for the government officials, government employee to follow these guidelines. It is incumbent on all the citizens of this country to follow these guidelines. For example, not taking or giving dowry. Now, as per the Dowry Act, not a single individual in the country is supposed to do that. So we have one conduct which specifies about dowry, which tells that railway employees should not take or give dowry. Now, in my opinion, that was little too far fetched. It should not have been included. We have stretched it a little too far. So, but it is there. Now, a corollary to conduct rule is another thing, what is known as our disciplinary and appeal rules. D&A rules, you will be that topic will also be covered sometime later. So D&A rules, the disciplinary and appeal rules, they run in parallel with the conduct rules. So if you violate the conduct rules, you will be taken up under the D&A rules. So violation of conduct rules invites the provision of D&A rules. So you have to understand that. But for D&A rules, your foundation is conduct rules. You need to understand your conduct rules first, so that you know that what will happen if you violate this conduct. Another thing, please understand the kind of the way these rules are framed. Every time it is not possible for the administration to ensure that the rules are followed and to ensure punishment of whenever they are violated, because these conduct rules are very, very exhaustive. There are almost like 20 different rules that are prescribed, and within each rule there are many sub rules. So you can easily say that there are almost 45 to 50 odd guidelines about how a railway employee should conduct himself or herself. So it is not possible for the administration to ensure compliance each and every time. It doesn't mean that if you don't comply, you will go scot free. As we know, I mean, there is a very famous proverb in Hindi. If you, I think all of you must be knowing it. चोर चोर तभी कहलाता है जब उसकी चोरी पकड़ी जाती. जब तक उसकी चोरी पकड़ी नहीं जाती, वो चोर नहीं है. Right? So it is something like that in the conduct rules also. You will be penalized for violation whenever you are caught. Whether you get caught or not, that is a different issue. There are people who don't get caught. There are people who get caught even for violation, even for a very small violation. There are people who don't get caught for big violations also, massive violations also. Whether you should follow these guidelines and try to adopt these conduct rules or not, it is absolutely your call to make. I mean, now you are in a phase of life where your views and opinions are not only formed but maybe crystallized also. It may not. If somebody thinks that getting a certain amount of commission on certain contract is all right, then I'm sure that no amount of preaching to that person will change his view. He will go and do it whatever come what may. Whether it is right or wrong, of course it is wrong. but whether you should do it or not, it is your call to make. No one can tell you what to do and what to know, what not to do. What I am telling you is that this is right, this is wrong. If you are on the wrong side, you are liable to be caught and punished. So it is definitely your call to decide what you want to do. So one by one, we will go through these rules. So first of all, I told you there are almost 20-25 odd rules here. So it is kind of little awkward to call them rules because they are kind of sections of these rules. But in a common parlance, for a very long time now, we have been calling all these sections as rules. So, for example, rule 1. So, rule 1 is about the title, and rule 2 is about the definition. So, strictly speaking, it is not a rule. So, rules start in that way. The rules start only with rule number 3. There is no rule 1 or rule 2 because these two are title and definition. So the definitions also, it is very important. I told you the meaning of government. What is the meaning of government? Every employee of railway is considered as government in that particular perspective. So for example, if you are seeking any permission to acquire a immovable property, then for your purpose, now you become an employee, and for your purpose, your general manager becomes the government. But if your group D staff, if he is purchasing a property and he wants permission from the government, for that purpose you become the government. So role of government changes with reference to each other. So that is another important thing to remember. But more important thing is the definition of a member of family. What is the meaning of member of family? Usually what we do, the most of the time, the definition of family is as per the definition included in the past rules. So whatever the definition mentioned in the past rule is considered as the definition of the family. Whereas as far as the conduct rules are concerned, and that definition, the definition in the past rules, it's a very narrow definition, which means that your spouse, children, siblings, if they are less than 18 years of age, or widowed mother or divorced mother, and so on and so forth. So very narrow definition. But the definition of members of family is extremely broad in case of the conduct rules. So for conduct rules, your parents are not included as members of family, but all other relatives who are dependent on you. Please understand this. There is no age criteria here. If any of your relative, so the term that is used is that a person related to you either by blood or by marriage and is dependent on you in the sense dependent on a railway servant. So a person who is related to a railway servant by blood or by marriage and is entirely dependent on the railway servant shall be treated as the member of the family. So if you have a brother-in-law who is dependent on you, or if you have a nephew, there are cases, where maybe your elder brother and sister-in-law may no longer be alive, and your nephew or niece is dependent on you, right? So in that situation, they will also become part of your family. They will be treated as members of the family. So any action that you do for favoring them will come under the conduct rule, and that we will discuss one by one how it is applicable and what are these rules. So coming to the rule number 3, now this rule number 3 is a very commonly used rules for taking up people under D&A rules, for taking action for violation of discipline, because rule 3 is by far the most exhaustive rule and it contains all the guidelines. So rule 3, you can say rule 3 is the summary of all the remaining rules. Whether it is related to participation in politics, whether it is related to dowry, whether it is related to integrity and all these things. So rule 3 is a basic, like, high level guideline kind of a thing, that what is the spirit of these rules. So rule 3 prescribes the spirit of the rule, and subsequent rules then go into further details of each of the provisions of rule 3. But rule 3 itself is very, very extensive, and it is very vague also. So let me make this thing very clear to you at the outset. It is extremely vague, which means that the the superior authority gets a lot of discretion to decide whether it amounts to a violation or not. For example, I will tell you the first three. So rule 3 has two sub rules. So there is rule 3, and then there is rule which is called as general rules. Within rule 3, there is rule 3 sub rule 1, and then there is rule 3 sub rule 2. So sub rule 1 is the one which is extremely extensive, and I will tell you the 3 sub rules. So within sub rule 1, there are almost 21 different rules that are being included. Okay, so these 3 sub rules, three sub parts of sub rule 1 are that so sub rule 1, rule 3 sub rule 1 starts with the word that every railway servant shall at all times. So it means that it is not only during your official conduct, but even in personal conduct also, in your personal time also, you have to adhere to this rule, right? So the start is itself like every railway servant shall at all times, right? So all these guidelines that are prescribed in sub rule 1 are to be followed at all times, 24/7. As long as you are a railway servant, you have to follow all these guidelines. So then we go one by one. Shall all times do these things? Do what? Maintain absolute. So the first clause is maintain absolute integrity. Now, as I said, extremely vague term. Absolute integrity. What does that mean? Right? So what is the meaning of integrity here? Okay. So there is no definition of what is an integrity, but because we do this in a common parlance, commonly accepted definition of integrity, right? Sir, class. So commonly accepted definition of integrity. What is the commonly accepted definition of integrity? What society expects is an ideal behavior. That is the type of behavior you are supposed to follow. For example, treat the public money as your own money. What in finance class you must have heard this term called canons of financial propriety, right? So canons of financial propriety, what is that? That you will treat that public money as your own money and spend it in a judicious manner. So if you are not doing that, you are not being your integrity is under doubt, right? So you will maintain absolute integrity. Second is at all times you will maintain devotion to duty. Now what is not devotion to duty? So not devotion to duty means that whenever you are given a instruction or whatever job is assigned to you, if routinely you don't perform the job in a timely manner and as per the standards that are being given, it will be treated as you are lacking in devotion to duty. So coming late for work, joining the classes late is lack of devotion to duty. Once in a while it's fine, but if there is someone who regularly comes late to the class, regularly comes late for PT, is someone who is not showing devotion to duty. Now, whether you do that or you don't do that, it is for you to decide. Then there is a third clause which says that you will not do anything which is unbecoming of a railway servant. Again, very vague term. What is the meaning of unbecoming of railway servant? What is the meaning of becoming of a railway servant? So, as I said, these are all generally accepted norms in the society. Like, for example, disrespecting women. It is expected that we will all accord appropriate respect to women. So if you are disrespecting women, then your behavior is unbecoming of a railway servant. If you are abusing your subordinate staff, I mean verbal abuse, I am saying, right? Gali galauch karna, right? So you are using expletives in your office working. You are that behavior is unbecoming of a railway servant. So you have to be careful about that. Okay, and then there are certain other guidelines in this rule 3, like for example that which doesn't require much of explanation, which is pretty clear that you will commit yourself to the supremacy of the constitution, you will uphold the sovereignty and integrity of the country all the time. Then there is another guideline: you will maintain high ethical standards and honesty. Very clear, it doesn't have to be described further. Maintain political neutrality. You will follow the principles of merit and fairness and impartiality in the discharge of your duties. These are all the guidelines. So we have a charter, Chirag. There has been a charter that has been issued. I will share that with you. But basically, charter, we don't need a charter right now for railway servant because we have our conduct rules. So conduct rules is kind of a charter for you, right? So we have summarized it and made out a charter for the responsibilities, fixing the time limits and all. So that is there. Then you will maintain good behavior and courteous behavior with public, because we are a public oriented organization. So we have to maintain good behavior, we have to maintain transparency, accountability. Our decisions that are taken, they should be in such a way that public interest is served at all times, right? If there are any private interests, so these are all guidelines, and I will come to the detailed parts later on. So if there is any private interest which is likely to conflict with the public duties, then you should declare those interests and you should recuse yourself from that work, from that public duty, right? You should not place yourself under any financial obligation which is likely to hamper your working in railways. Now, for you, it may appear ki what is the need for doing something like that. Uh, that is what you may think. Why are you? Why you will never do that? Something like that. But there are examples where people do that. Their private interest, their personal financial obligations have affected their working in the railways. As I told you, this is not applicable only to the officers. This is also applicable to the railway employees. So there have been unlimited cases, many cases where the commercial staff who is dealing with ticket booking, parcel booking, and things like that, because they were under some financial burden, some financial obligation, so they took out like 10,000 rupees, 15,000 rupees from the daily earnings, hoping that 2-3 दिन के बाद आके जमा कर देंगे. That people have done that, right? And they have been caught. They have got caught because of that, and severe actions. severe action has been taken against them. Okay. As I said, please don't unmute yourself. If you want, you raise your hand or type in the chat box. Please be careful about that. So then there are many more such, there are more rules about all these things, and you can go through this. I am not going through each one of them, and each one of them in the sense I am talking about rule 3 sub rule 1. So there are 21 sub rules, 21 clauses in sub rule 1, right? So more or less they are like this, that you will maintain confidentiality in your working, you will follow professionalism in your working and things like that. Let us move on to sub rule 2. Sub rule 2 is again about maintaining integrity and devotion to duty, and it goes more into the specifics of how to give instructions and how to take instructions. If you are a boss, how will you give the instructions? And if you are a subordinate and you are receiving instructions, how will you receive instructions? So the guideline tells that all the instructions that are given, it is the responsibility of the senior person that all the instructions that are given, they should as far as possible be in writing. Oral or verbal instructions should be avoided. If the situation demands that verbal instructions are to be given, because in railway working, you know that we are like fighting with time all the time. Time is of very a very crucial factor in railway operation, in train operation. So it does not become, it is not practical to issue instructions in writing every time. So as far as practical, the instructions should be issued in writing. If the instructions cannot be issued in writing, then after the decision has been taken or work has been done, those instructions should be confirmed in writing after the completion of the work. Again, in practice, it becomes a little difficult to follow this instruction also, like especially when it comes to train operation. Most of our decisions as far as train operations are concerned, they are taken from on the basis of what is known as control message. So there is a control room. You all have, I think this class on working of control room has already been done. So you know that there is a control room, and most of the decisions are in the form of a control message or control order. Also, it is called sometimes, which are not technically not given in writing, but it has become a common way of working now. As long as these instructions are not are in accordance with the laid down procedures and laid down rules, there is no problem. You can follow this. However, if it comes to your notice that the instructions that are given to you are clearly in violation of the laid down guidelines, then it is advisable to get those instructions in a written format. It is highly advisable. Whether it is done or not, that is a different issue. Practically, we see in the field, there might be situations where bosses give instructions which are not in accordance, and you cannot dare to ask the boss to give it in writing. Because the boss is giving the instructions verbally because they are not in accordance. And there are many factors that come into play where you are not able to challenge. It's not even challenging the boss, just confirming, because your boss will get annoyed with you. Your boss will get angry that you are asking him or her to give the instructions in writing. So how to deal with this situation? One is, of course, don't do anything, follow the order, hope that everything goes well, all is well, and nothing happens, right? But there are situations where people have followed the orders which were incorrect orders, and then they had to face the repercussions. It depends on your ingenuity on how you handle this situation. One advice that I can give you is it is always better to inform in writing that you have completed the work. You can inform in writing, like there is a very diplomatic way of doing this thing, that you tell the boss that okay, on this date you had given me this order, I have completed the work that you have assigned to me, and this is for your information, please. I am informing you that I have completed this work. That is a way you can handle this thing. Okay, so that is about the sub rule 3. Then there are rule 3a, 3b and 3c, which I said are again repetition of what was mentioned in rule 3, 3 sub rule 1. Again, I don't understand why they were included. Rule 3a and 3a, 3b, 3c. 3a, 3b still I can sorry, 3c still I can understand why it was included. 3a, 3b I don't know. 3a is about promptness and courtesy, that you will always be courteous, you will not behave in a discourteous manner, you will not adopt any dilatory tactics, or you will not willfully cause any delay to in the work that is assigned to you. So that is 3a. 3b is observance of government policies. Again, you are a government servant, you are a government employee, you have to follow government policies. So it kind of emphasizes that in addition to your own work, you will also follow the government policies about age of marriage, preservation of environment, protection of wildlife, and the cultural heritage. So that is the guideline that is being given. Okay, and then you will also follow all the government guidelines as far as respecting the women are concerned. So this is 3b. 3c is a more important rule in terms of your working, especially in the present times, which deals with prohibition of sexual harassment of the working women. Now there are two things. There are two different aspects. I don't know if you have already attended the class. There is one thing about prevention of harassment of women at the workplace, right? So there will be a session on that, or maybe that session has already happened. Prevention of harassment of women at workplace, whether they are employees or they are not employees. Anyone who is coming in railway premises, whether even if it is a general public. So prevention of harassment of them. What we are talking here is prohibition of sexual harassment of working women. So women who are working in railways, how will you avoid, how will you prohibit the sexual harassment of working women? So the rule 3c deals with that, and it goes into it first of all gives it gives the guideline that the railway employee himself should not sexually harass any woman at the workplace. At the same time, there is a second provision which says that you will also see to it, and as a in charge of the office, you will also take steps to ensure that women are not harassed at your workplace. So you yourself will not harass women, and you will create conditions that that are against harassment. You will create a positive atmosphere in the office whereby sexual harassment of working women does not take place. So that is another responsibility that is being given. And then what amounts to sexual harassment, it goes into the details, and I think you all must be knowing about it, that it is not only direct sexual offense or direct sexual act, even indirect messages or indirect comments showing pornography or making some unwelcome physical or verbal or non-verbal gestures also. Those all will amount to sexual harassment. So that is rule 3c for you, right? Next, we move on to rule 4. And this is where what I told you in rule 3, sub rule 1, that whenever there is clash of your private interest and the public responsibility, how you should deal that. So rule 4 deals with one of such situations where there is a clash between your private interest and the public good. So rule 4 talks about employment of your near relatives in the firms or companies which are with which you have a dealing. Private firms and companies with which you as a railway officer or a railway servant have business dealings. So, first guideline is that railway servant shall not use his power, his position, his influence to get any kind of employment for any member of the family. So you cannot say ki there is a contractor and you cannot influence the contractor ki I will, because these are the things that happen in real life, that bill pending hai and I tell the contractor ki no, unless you give job to my sala, I will not release your bill. मेरे साले को job दो तब तुम्हारा bill release होगा, नहीं तो नहीं होगा. Not allowed, right? So that is the spirit behind that. My video just froze for some time. Again, in the chat box, if somebody can comment. Am I audible loud and clear? Yeah, great. Thank you. So, yeah. So, if any of your near relative, so the question is, you will not influence, but does it mean that any of your relative, if they get the job on their own, if they get the job on their own, still they will not join the job? Like, for example, there is a big loco manufacturing plant that is coming up in Madhepura, where in collaboration with Alstom. You must have heard that, right? So now if you have a younger brother who gets a job on his, now you are working in that plant from the railway side, you are working on that project of setting up that plant, right? Or you are working in the plant, the Alstom loco plant, right? And you have a younger brother who on his own gets a job in Alstom. Whether he should take that job or not, what does it mean? Like, will it be treated that you played a part in your younger brother getting that job? So the guidelines in this regard is that if any of your family member is getting a job in a firm or a company with whom you have a business dealing, then you will take the approval of the government for your family member to join that company. That is the guideline, right? You have to take the approval from the government for your younger brother to join, and you make a declaration, okay, that he has gone through the process and I had no role in his getting an employment and this and that, right? So that is what happens. There can be a situation where you are not aware of somebody from your family getting a job. As I told, your brother-in-law gets a job in Alstom, but you are working in Delhi. Your brother-in-law was in Chennai, and you did not know that he applied and got it, and so on and so forth. Sorry, it was only after he joined Alstom that you came to know about it. So as soon as you know, you should intimate the government that your near relative has joined that company. So you have to intimate the government. Then there is another situation, that what if you're right now, like you, for example, you are an electrical engineer, you are working in Bombay, but then you get transferred to Madhepura afterwards, right? And you are or you are asked to deal in contract. You are asked to deal in a tender. You become a member of a tender committee. You are asked to you become a member of a tender committee, and one of the companies who is the party in that who is applying for that tender, your brother is a general manager of that company, right? So that these situations also arise, right? You are a member of a tender committee, and your brother's company is also applying for that. In such situation, whenever you come to know about such a situation, you should immediately inform the administration that I am a tender committee member, my brother's company has applied, so there is a conflict of interest here, so I should be recused from being the member of the tender committee. So that is another. And let me tell you, there was very recently, about 2 years back, one of the general managers had to go through a very tough time. He was issued a charge sheet and everything. General manager, mind you, because the same thing happened where his son was working in a certain company, and that company had submitted its bid for that tender, and the general manager was not the member of the tender committee, but he was the approving authority for that tender. So his son's company was one of the bidders, and he was the approving authority. Clear conflict of interest, and he was given a charge sheet for that. Official dealing with you. I am not telling it's not official dealing with railways. Railways mein to you will never know. There are thousands of companies who are having official dealing with railways. I am talking about you. When you are having an official dealing with a company in your capacity, right? So you will know with which companies you are having an official dealing, right? It's not that you don't know. Okay, I hope I am clear. This is all personal. There are you can never know how many different companies are there which are operating in different areas, right? So that is rule 4 for you. Rule 5 is about taking part in politics and elections, right? So I told you that you in rule 3.1 there was a clause which said that you will maintain political neutrality. Now rule 5 elaborates on that. Okay, rule 5 tells that participating in any political activity or getting associated with any organization that is involved in political activities, absolute no. You cannot do that. There is no confusion, no question about it, right? Even when your family members are active in politics, you are supposed to give the submission to the government. You are supposed to inform the government that my brother so and so is active in politics and member of so and so political party. You should desist. You should advise your family members, or you should try, actually not even advise, you should try that none of your family members take part in political activities that are subversive for the country or subversive to the government policies also. So that is another guideline. Since you cannot take part in active politics, canvassing for a certain political party is also considered as participating in active politics, right? So you are not supposed to canvass for any particular political party or any not even party, political organization also. Okay, so be clear about that as well. There is a gray area about how this will practically come into effect, because nowadays you see there are lots of government employees who are posting various posts on Facebook, either in support or in opposition to a certain political party. right? It can be in support or it can be in opposition of any political party. This we are seeing that uh, that line becomes very thin there. But it is always better, as the English proverb says, it is always better to err on the side of caution. So it's better if you don't post anything on your social media walls, either supporting or opposing any political party, not this, not that, any political party for that matter. Okay. When it comes to canvassing, even displaying of the political symbol of any party, election symbol of any party on your house or on your vehicle is considered as canvassing. So if you stick a sticker of certain political party on your car, that may be treated as violation of the conduct rules, right? There are a few observations. If previously you worked in a company, it is Anudeep, the idea is not that you should stay away. The idea is that you should make it open and clear. See, it is your responsibility to tell. If you worked in a previous company, now that company is having dealing with railways, it's fine. But you should tell your administration, see, I have this company is now a bidder or it has won the contract, and I worked for this company for 5 years in the past. So you should make it very clear. So as I said, err on the side of caution. So you are making clear that I don't have any mala fide intention. I don't have anything to hide here. Okay. Railway employees usually don't get election duties. Only the officers of railway accounts services, they are deputed as financial observers during the elections. But other than that, railway employees usually don't get any election duty, right? Sometimes it may so happen that you are nominated, but it is very easy to go to the district collector and recuse yourself, because they also know that train operations, and also usually then they don't nominate you for the election, right? So that is rule 5 about taking part in the political party. Rule 6 is about joining the associations or unions. So first and foremost, nobody can join the association or union which is acting or which is working, whose activities rather are prejudicial to the sovereignty and integrity of the country. So obviously there is, this doesn't need to be explained further, right? Gazetted officers cannot join the association of non-gazetted railway employees. Now the question is why should someone do that? Now this is not applicable to you. Whenever I am telling you about these conduct rules, don't think of them only from your personal perspective. Think of it from the point of view that it is applicable to all railway employees. I am time and again telling you that it is applicable to all the railway employees, right? So when we're talking about this rule 6, we have a category of railway employees who are group B officers. They come from group C. Group B, there is no direct recruitment. All the group B officers are promoted from group C to group B. So when they are in group C, they are non-gazetted employees, and they are members of their own unions or associations. Once they get promoted in group B, they become gazetted. Now they are supposed to relinquish their membership of that non-gazetted association or union, because there is a conflict of interest. The moment you come into group B, you are now part of the management, right? So now you are on the other side of the table. So now when you are on the other side of the table, you can't be a member of the union or association of the non-gazetted employees. So that is rule 6 for you. Rule 7 is about demonstrations. Now this Personally, again, it may not be important for you about demonstration, but when you go into the field, this rule 7 will be very, very important for you, because in Indian Railways, we have very strong unions. And there are certain geographies where these unions are extremely powerful and extremely vociferous also. So that is something you have to take into consideration. Time and again, they will go on demonstrations. They will organize some or the other kind of demonstration. Whether it is they will stage a dharna, they will stage a rasta roko, they will stage a gherav. All these kinds of activities, they happen in the field, right? Here rule 7 will be helpful to you to deal with the people who are participating in demonstrations. So you will not participate, but you will have to deal with people. You will have to deal with people who participate in such demonstrations. So rail roko, since it is not done by railway servants, Chirag, I will not comment on it. Rail roko is most of the time done by non-railway people, because if the railway people do it, it is obviously illegal. You are supposed to run the railways, not stop the railways. So if you are doing something which is against your fundamental activity, it is of course illegal. As far as the rail roko by non-railway entities, that is not the mandate of today's discussion. So I will not go into that particular aspect. Here we are talking only about the conduct rules for railway servants and not the conduct rules for general public, right? So demonstrations, railway employees can participate in demonstrations. Again, I am not going into that part. They should not be like against the sovereignty, integrity of the country. That is the first guideline, of course. So it is kind of a repetition. So I didn't understand the question, Champak Jyoti. What do you mean? Why do trade unions exist? Because they have the right to form the union. I never said that they cannot form union. I said that Group B employees cannot become members of unions, associations of Group C employees. Group B and Group A employees can form their own association. So even Group A, Group B, Group C employees, all of them can form their association, and we have our association. All Group A officers, we have our own association. It is called as FROA, Federation of Railway Officers Association. So everybody has an association. Group B officers have an association. Group C employees have an association. The only thing that is not allowed is Group gazetted officers becoming members of non-gazetted associations or unions. I hope I am clear. So demonstration, it should be conducted in a peaceful manner. That is number one. It should be conducted outside the railway premises, outside the office premises. Sorry, not railway premises, outside the office premises. It should be conducted outside the office premises in a peaceful manner, not during office time. So if somebody is there participating in a demonstration during office time, you can take action for violation of Rule 7, right? So these are the conditions that are to be followed, and they should not be violent, and they should not obstruct the activities of others who are not participating in that demonstration. So all these conditions, if they are followed, then railway employees can participate in demonstrations. So these are the 3 or 4 conditions. Peaceful, should not obstruct the passage of other employees, should be outside the office premises, and should be outside the office timings. So these conditions are followed, then they are entitled for they can have demonstration. Then we come to Rule 8, which is about connection to press or media, right? You will you cannot participate in any of the activity of any type of media without the permission of the government. So this is the broad guideline. What does that mean? It means that one, of course, you cannot participate in any kind of this press. If you want to do something else like publishing, or you want to become an editor of a journal which is not a railway journal, right? There are magazines and journals which are published by the railway administration. In Nair, for example, we have our quarterly magazine which is published. So that's published by the railway administration. So there is no problem in that. But for example, there is a mechanical engineers association, and you are a member of that association, and they are publishing a journal, and you become an editor of that journal. You can become an editor of that journal, but you have to take prior permission from the government. You have to take prior sanction, prior approval of the government. Without approval, you cannot become a member. You cannot participate in editing or management activity of any newspaper, any publication, or even electronic media. Also, you cannot do that. Then publishing of the book. If you want to write a book, you can of course write a book, but you have to again take prior permission of the government to do that, and you will not write anything which is critical of the government, and you should very clearly specify that the views that are expressed are your own personal views and not that of the government. So that is another, right? So you can publish a book with the permission. Then rule 9 is about the criticism of the government. So no railway servant in any form of any platform, whether television, radio, or even other form of electronic media. Now the term is electronic media, which includes social media. In any of these places, either either anonymously or using pseudonym, you will not say anything that is critical of the government policy, right? And that criticism is about current or any recent action of the government. Right, so you will not do anything of that sort. That is not allowed. You can't criticize the government, because you are the government yourself. You are part of the government, right? Evidence before any committee or authority, you will unless that authority or that commission is a parliamentary commission, right, or a commission formed by the government. If that is the case, then in that case you cannot give any evidence before any commission without the permission of the government. Okay, so please understand this thing. You can do that, but you have to take permission from the government to give any evidence before any committee or before any authority. Okay, unless that is a parliamentary commission or authority or judicial commission or authority. So if court asks you to give any evidence before for any trial that is going on, then it's a judicial commission. So you have to go and give your evidence. But for others, you have to take the prior approval of the government. Communication of official information. Communication of official information shall be done only in terms of the Right to Information Act. Other than Right to Information Act, you will not communicate about official information with anyone else, including the media. Please understand this also. Many, and especially young officers, the new officers, some of them or some officers have landed in trouble because of this. Because if you are assigned to some very important project, whether it is line or whether it is new line or doubling or construction of a new station or something like that, new bridge. So if you are assigned to this project, there is always a possibility of media people coming and asking you questions about this project. You are not supposed to talk to them. You should every zonal and divisional office has a public relations officer. PRO is there in every division and every zone. So you should direct those people to the PRO. You should not divulge any information from your side. Okay. So please bear that in mind. Rule 12 is this was rule 11. Application of official information was about that is the rule 11. Rule 12 is about subscription. And what is the meaning of subscription? Subscription means basically raising money for anything. So, for example, you are associated with any charitable organization and you want to collect donations for that organization. You cannot do that in railway premises. You cannot do that, right? If at all you are very committed to that, and if you want to do that, and there are people who want to donate also within your railway office, there are people who want to donate. But even for that, you have to take prior approval, prior permission from the government. So, and that subscription form can be for any purpose. There is a cultural night, there is a musical night being organized in the city by some club called Rotary Club, and your wife is a member of Rotary Club. Now you want to sell tickets. You can't do that. You are not allowed to do that. You have to take permission from the government for you, right? So that is rule 12 form. Now we come to rule 13, and this is one of the most important rule which you will come across or which you will have to face every now and then, right? And that is about gifts. How can you take gifts? There is a method by which you can take gifts. So the first basic underlying provision is that unless specified in the rules, you cannot accept any gift come come what may, right? So rule 10 I already told you, Amit. It is about evidence before the committee, evidence before any committee or any other authority. So that was rule 10. So rule 13 is about gifts. So as I said, you cannot accept any gifts other than the method that is prescribed in this book, in this rule. Okay. And when we talk about gift, even gift does not mean physical gift. Gift can be in kind also. Like for example, um mm, for example, holiday. If someone arranges a very expensive holiday for you somewhere, that is a form of a gift. If you have a contractor who says कि साहब आपके लिए मैं गाड़ी अरेंज करता हूँ रोज ऑफिस से ले जाने के लिए, घर से ऑफिस और ऑफिस से घर लाने, that will be treated as form of a gift. You are not entitled to do that. Once in a while casual meal, or once in a while some form of a social hospitality, not a gift. But lavish, frequent lavish hospitality, just hold on for a second. I will come back. Yeah, sorry about that. It was a call from a DG sir actually, so that's why I was like, I had to take it. Sorry about that interruption. So as I was telling you about gift, once in a while, casual meal or some social hospitality, fine. But lavish, frequent lavish hospitality. You are working in Bombay and your contractor takes to you to Taj Mahal Hotel for dinner on every Saturday evening. Lavish hospitality and frequent hospitality not allowed, right? Whenever you are accepting gifts, you are allowed to accept gifts during ceremonial occasions, your anniversaries, birthdays, religious festivals. On these occasions you can accept gifts, but only from the people with whom you don't have any official dealing. You cannot accept gifts from people with whom you have official dealings, right? On ceremonial occasions, also, you can accept gifts from people with whom you don't have any official dealings. Even in that, there is another rider to this, that if you are a group A officer and on a ceremonial occasion you are receiving a gift from a person with whom you don't have official dealing, but if the value of that gift is more than 25,000 rupees, then you have to report to the government that you have received such gift. Okay, so for example, you have a marriage anniversary and your brother-in-law Salah has come from US and gives you a iPhone 10, 11 जो भी अभी चल रहा है as a gift. Now it costs more than 25,000 rupees. You have to inform the government that you have received such gift. So that limit is 25,000 for Group A officer, 15,000 for Group B, and 7,500 for all others. Okay, so that is the condition. Gifts received during regular time, I mean without any ceremonial occasion. It's not that you cannot accept gifts without ceremonial occasion. Without ceremonial occasion also you can accept gifts, but you cannot accept gifts of value more than 2000 sorry 5000 rupees, not 2000, 5000 rupees. If the value of the gift is more than 5000 rupees, you again have to report, right? If the wife is railway employee and she gives gift, is it acceptable? That is a family member. So yes, you're. But again, the same thing applies. Like if you, as I said, see, who was that? Amit. Whenever we are talking about any of the rules, any of the regulations, please consider this thing. Please take this into mind that rules cannot be framed for each and every eventuality. Every condition will not be included. There are certain things that we have to decipher from our commonsensical understanding, right? So as I said, we cannot go into the detail कि wife दे सकती है कि नहीं दे सकती, बेटा दे सकता है कि नहीं दे सकता है, पिताजी दे सकते हैं कि नहीं दे सकते हैं. These are the general guidelines. You are supposed to adhere to them, and I am repeating myself. It is always better to err on the side of caution. Your wife is gifting you somebody for practical purposes, it is your income. But it is better if you inform the administration if something like this is happening, right? So you can take that into consideration. Okay. So that is as far as the acceptance of gifts are concerned. Okay. Some ceremonial. There are many further details to this. You can go through them in your leisure time. I'm not going into the details because we have only 15 minutes left and we are not even halfway through. Okay, so just further details you can go through this. This is the basic guideline that I have just told you. Finer details you can read. Rule 13A is about dowry. Again, I'm not going into the detail of that. You all know it is basically a replication of the Dowry Act, that you cannot accept dowry, you cannot give dowry, and things like that. So Rule 13A is about dowry. Rule 14 is about public demonstrations in the honor of railway servants. What does that mean? So any private organization you cannot attend a function which is honoring you for your official work and which is organized by a private organization. There is some trust, there is some private organization, you were instrumental in constructing a new line in a certain geography, right? And now the organization wants to felicitate you because you were instrumental in commissioning of that line. You should avoid that. If the organizations insist, if there are emotional issues involved there, and you were like very close to the public there, you can do that, but you have to take prior permission. Okay, so you have to take prior permission to attend such function. So that is the spirit of that particular rule. Okay, again, there are many finer details. I am skipping through that. If you have any doubts, you can of course approach me. Then we have another important rule, and that is about private trade and employment. Now, this is again very, very important for you guys. Please bear this in mind. This is very important. That except without prior approval of the government, you will not directly and Vikram, I am coming to that particular topic in a while. That is another rule. There is a specific rule for that, and very soon I will come to that rule. It is rule 18 or rule 90, something like that. So I will come to that rule very soon. Hold on, Papa, till that time. Okay. So private trade and employment, except with the prior approval of the government, you cannot participate directly or indirectly in any trade, any business. You cannot take up any other employment of any nature whatsoever. You cannot run for any elected office. Any elected in the sense as far as the governance is concerned. Like somebody may say कि I am living in a cooperative housing society और वो housing society का यानी जो मेरा township है उस township का election है तो उसमें मैं participate कर सकता हूँ कि नहीं. That is fine. I am talking about organs of governance. So जिला परिषद है या ग्राम पंचायत है या पंचायत राज सिस्टम की organizations है उसमें you cannot participate, you cannot canvass, right? You cannot canvass for any particular business. You cannot have any insurance agency, any kind of commission agency. You cannot do that. You cannot participate in any activity that is sponsored, whether it is a television program or any other electronic format. You cannot participate in the activity that is sponsored by any particular organization. If you want to participate in a television debate or something, you have to take permission from the government. You cannot participate in producing any privately owned media, the video or movie or anything like that. Okay, all those things are a strict no. Of course, you can do that with the permission of the government, right? And government may or may not give you permission. Similarly, participating in other activities, non-commercial activities, social work, charitable work, literary work. You want to participate in a mushaira. You want to participate in a scientific conference. All these things you have to take prior permission from the government. You want to participate. You are a sports person and you want to participate in any sports competition which is not related to railway. Like you are a cricketer and you want to participate in IPL. Let's say you play very good cricket and you want to participate in IPL. Of course, you can do that, but you have to take prior permission from the government. And whenever you are doing that, whenever the government is giving you a permission, then depending on different situation, there is a formula for sharing of the revenue that you might get. Okay, so you can do that, but you have to share the revenue with the government. Right, you cannot take the whole money with yourself, right? So anything, if you are doing that without any fee, then it is fine. Then there is no question. Like for example, you are participating in IPL and you say that, okay, I don't want any free from IPL. So there is no question. But if you are taking any fee for your participation, then that needs to be shared with the government. Okay, so that is rule 15. There is rule 15A also, and this is not really relevant to you directly, but you should know about it because you will have to deal with it when you go into the field, because lot of our non-gazetted employees violate this rule 15A. Rule 15A is about subletting of government accommodation, means your quarters. Subletting means giving it on rent to someone else. You are not living in that quarter yourself, but you are giving it on rent to someone else. That is subletting. So that is a strict no-no, and that is a very common practice in railway, right? Because railway quarters everywhere, you must have seen, railway quarters are in excellent locations. Location-wise, best of the locations, you will see that the railway quarters are there. So when railway staff, they who don't get transferred very often, for example, clerical staff who remain in the divisional or headquarter office for 20-25 years. So after 5-10 years, they buy their own flat, and they also take a railway accommodation and give it on rent, because you get a very good rent in places like Bombay and Delhi and all. That is a very common practice. Metros, it is a very, very common practice. Okay, so that is why you may be made a member of the committee to investigate such violations when you go on your working post. So therefore, rule 15A also, it is important for you to keep in mind rule 15A. Okay, and then rule 16, again, very important for you people, because I know many of you might be involved in stock market trading. So please understand this. Rule 16 is about investment, lending, and borrowing. So you shall not speculate in stock, share, or investment market. Simple and plain. And most of you know what speculation means. For those who don't know what is speculation, it means and this again, explanation of speculation is given within the rule itself. It says that any kind of frequent purchase and sale of shares or securities will be treated as speculation. So you are doing it again, frequency is not defined. It is only said that frequent purchase and frequent purchase and sale of share and securities shall be treated as speculation. So you are not supposed to speculate. You are not supposed to speculate in any way in the stock market. Then you are not supposed to indulge in any kind of lending or borrowing activity with charging interest. You cannot do that. Frequently, you are borrowing money and then lending money of that nature, frequent borrowing and lending money with the interest. It is not allowed. You can give gifts or you can take gifts that is of temporary nature but without interest. That will be treated as temporary loan, but you have to inform the government about receipt of such gift. So in here, if you are getting some gift from your father also, you have to inform the government that your father, you want to buy a flat which cost 1 crore rupees. Your father is giving you 10 lakh rupees as his gift for you to help to buy that particular flat. You have to inform the government that you have received 10 lakh rupees from your father, right? But just because he is your father, you cannot assume that you can take. Okay. Mutual fund, fixed deposit, all forms of investment. So I said that. I very clearly said that shares, stocks, and other forms of securities. So all those things will be considered as securities. So it is not that you cannot do it. What I am saying is you can invest in share market, but you will not speculate. You can take a loan, but you can take a loan frequently. You can lend money, but you can't lend money with the interest. Okay. So this is Prashant. There is a thin line there. There, as I said, it is not defined. Speculation is said that frequent buying and selling of shares. Now, what is the frequency? Once in a day, is it okay? So it depends on how much time you are spending in that, right? So maybe once in a day it will depend. And you are right, it depends on market volatility. So there are many factors, and that is why we are not defined what is the meaning of that, right? So basically you have to use your discretion in this situation about deciding whether it will amount to speculation or not. Right. Then let us go to Rule 17. In Rule 17 is insolvency and habitual indebtedness. This again, it may seem irrelevant to you, but this is again a very common practice with our non-gazetted staff. Right. Insolvency and habitual indebtedness. There are, because of various vices, people have ended up indebted, and there have been very unpleasant situations where the loan sharks from whom they have taken the money, they have come to the railway premises to recover that money. They have talked to the administration, they have tried to get the administration to pay that money. Of course, we haven't done that, but we have to face those kinds of situations. This has happened. This has happened very more than frequently. Okay. Now I am. There are more details to that particular thing in insolvency and indebtedness. I am again skipping that part because I have another 3 minutes left. Rule 18 is another very important rule, and that is the rule that Vikram, you may want to pay attention to this particular thing. It will answer your question. It is about movable, immovable, and valuable property. So movable, immovable, valuable property, the moment you join railway servant, any railway servant, when he or she joins the railway services, they have to give an undertaking declaring their movable, immovable, and valuable property. I hope all of you must have done that. If not, once you go back to your CTIs, please do that. You have to declare your immovable property that you might have inherited also. Whether you have owned it, whether you have acquired it, or whether you have inherited it, you have to declare at the time of joining itself that I have inherited this much of immovable property. You have to declare your holding of shares, debentures, and bank deposits. That also you have to declare. And any other movable property, you have a car, you have to declare at the time of joining, I'm saying, right? So at the time of joining, you have to do that. What happens after joining? After you join, if you want to purchase an immovable property, then if you are purchasing an immovable property from a person with whom you don't have an official dealing, then after purchasing, you have to inform the administration within 1 month of the transaction. You buy a flat from any builder. After buying the flat, you have to inform the administration within 1 month. And when you inform the administration, you give the detailed account of your investment. Like if let's say the property value of the property was 50 lakh rupees. So you have to inform your source of money also. कि 50 लाख की है, 2 लाख मेरा personal saving था, and 48 lakh is the loan I took. Then loan ka terms and conditions, all those details are to be given to the administration. So please know this. When you go and join and you buy a property, you have to inform the administration. After, it is information, not permission. However, if you want to buy a property from a person with whom you have an official dealing, आपका कॉन्ट्रैक्टर है, उसका फ्लैट खरीद रहे हो, In that situation, you have to take prior permission of the government. Then it is not intimation. Then you have to take prior permissions from the government, right? So that is about immovable property. Movable property, you have to if the value of the movable property, like for example, you are buying a TV, okay, if the value of that TV is less than your 2 months salary, then you don't have to do anything. And salary here means basic plus DA, gross basic plus DA. Other allowances are not included. If you are getting HRA, if you are staying outside and you are getting HRA, it will not be included. Salary will mean basic pay plus dearness allowance. So if the value of that movable property is less than your 2 months salary, then you don't have to do anything. But if the value of that movable property is movable property or valuable property, for example, you are purchasing jewelry. So if the value is more than your 2 months salary, then you have to inform the administration. Again, no permission required, but you have to inform the administration about your decision to buy such a property. Okay, so that is rule 18 for you. Rule 18A is also there, which you also should understand, because it is related to your immovable property. You cannot enter into a transaction for sale or purchase of immovable property with a foreigner. If you have a flat, you want to sell it to a foreigner, you cannot do that. You have to, you can, and similarly, you cannot acquire an immovable property in foreign countries. That is also not allowed. Immovable property, you want to buy a flat in Dubai, you cannot do that, right? So that is rule 18A. Rule 19 is not very important. You can read through it. It is about the vindication of acts and characters of railway servants. So not very important. Again, 20 is not very important. Canvassing of non-official or other purpose. You will not. We talked about canvassing of for elections, which is not allowed, and canvassing for any non-official purpose, whether it is election or any other purpose that is likely to bring influence on your superior authority. So, for example, technically, now this is I am telling you technically, it happens officially. This is the position. You cannot go and canvass for your transfer and ask the politician to bring pressure on your boss to get you transferred somewhere. That is not allowed. People do that. They don't get punished. But yeah, that is the rule, right? Then 21 is about restriction on marriage. Like if I have to summarize it, it is about second marriage. Let me put it that way. It is about second marriage. So you are not allowed to get into a second wedlock if your spouse is living, right? And if you are not legally divorced, living and not legally separated. So if you are legally separated, of course you can, but other than that you cannot. And there are no religious classifications here. This is equally applicable to people from all the religious backgrounds. So they cannot do that no matter what your personal laws might be telling. Okay. So that is rule 21. Rule 22 is a little funny rule. Funny because there is no clear guideline about how to bring this rule into effect. Why I am saying this is because it pertains to consumption of intoxicant drinks or drugs. So of course you are not supposed to come to your workplace under the influence of any intoxicant drug or drink. That is number one. But there is another clause which says that you are not supposed to consume any intoxicant drug or drink in a public place. And when we talk about public place within the rules, it is defined that public place means where there is open entry for anybody to come and go. So why I am saying this is funny is because if we go by this rule, strictly speaking, your bar will be treated as a public place. And because bar is a public place, now the question is, can you consume alcohol by sitting in a bar? So as per this rule, you cannot. But then, if that is the case, we can very well say that majority of us may be violating that rule. Okay, so that's what I told you in the beginning. There are some rules which actually doesn't make sense to us as to why they are included and what is the logic, right? But since they are there, it's my job to tell you about it. So this is all about conduct rules, because I have already taken 5 minutes more than the prescribed time. It is advisable for you to go through it once. If you have any doubts, any confusions, you are most welcome to come and talk to me about it. We can definitely, if you have any doubts, I can clear those doubts whenever you want. As of now, we can like hold on for another minute or so. If you have any question, if you have any observations, another 2-3 minutes, if you want, we can address. Others, they are free to leave and have their lunch. Those who want to ask questions, they can stay back. I will be here for another minute or so. Thank you.